Hey, welcome to Old School Bleep. I'm Scott Fingold. This is
Jeff Williams.
And
I'm Damon Soper.
And we're here to continue to get in your ears and in your faces about Springfield music, Springfield original outsider, oddball music, mostly. Not really so much, it's just our area, the stuff that we do more original and not maybe countercultural type of stuff that we've been involved in over the years. Many years, way too many years if you think about it. Long time. And so far, a lot of it has been focused on Jeff's work with Annihilate in the early days and my time in Flawless Ketchup and Backwards Day. But we want to expand. Damon's been here the whole time, but we haven't really had a chance to talk about Damon's long and storied musical career. We want to make sure we get to take care of some of that, and eventually, as we have mentioned before, we want to expand this beyond the three of us and start bringing in other people, eminences, artists from Springfield music. So look forward to that as we move ahead. But for now, we're moving the spotlight over to Damon.
And I'm hoping on this one we will bring in some people outside of us via video messaging.
I mean, Jeff and I have been the only voice for people who have their own voices, so we might have to bring in Bruce, Jeff's brother.
Bruce is going to have to come in
and do some fact checking.
He already fact checked me on something. I'm not even going to talk about it right now, but it'll come up later, I'm sure.
Right, and then the members of Backwards Day, Jim, Tim, Ted might want to weigh in as well.
That'd be great, yeah.
And so we're not done with all of that, but we want to bring in some more voices. The idea is this is kind of the nucleus of the concept because we're here, but we want to expand it out to include all kinds of different voices. So don't just think, Old School Bleep is just going to be us. For now, we're trying to mine whatever we can, scrape the bottom of our personal barrels, and then move forward.
Right. But unfortunately, tonight, it's Damon's turn on the couch. He's the one tonight.
We're going to psychoanalyze Damon and figure out what's going on. So, man, how did you get started playing music in town?
Way back. When your first thing.
I'm just going to start that when I was like a baby, my dad
That's what I'm talking
was
about.
playing guitar and singing around the house. He was doing Jimmy Reed, Chuck Berry, Johnny Cash, Buck Owens, like country and early rock.
Now, so was he in bands and stuff?
No, he was an Illinois State police officer, and he would come home, and he was not shy about singing around the house. He had a guitar he kept under his bed. He'd break it out. He'd sit on the corner of the bed and strum. But he moved on from Illinois State Trooper to doing security detail for the Attorney General of Illinois and then the governor at the time, who was Jim Thompson. They would be out the state fairgrounds, and when he was off duty, he would go to the beer tents, and he knew the bands, and he would sing with Pork and the Havana Ducks or Marty Ushman's Music Scene.
The old town looks the same. So step down from the train. There to meet me is my mama and my papa. Down the lane I look and there runs Mary, hair of gold and lips like cherries. It's good to touch that green grass of home.
And Governor Thompson saw my dad singing one night, and he later approached him and said, Trooper Soper, you have a hell of a voice. So anyways, I thought that was kind of neat.
Right.
And my brother played drums. My sister played a little guitar. She's the first person ever taught me Smoke on the Water. My
Deep Purple reference.
Yeah.
For
my parents came home. My brother had traded his drum set for a mini bike, and they saw this drum set going off in the back of somebody's pickup truck. But he didn't give him the snare drum. It was this red sparkle snare drum that was always around the house. So when my dad was playing songs, I'm a little kid, and I would grab the snare drum and just start beating with some wooden spoons and play to the songs. And he would be like, "Where'd you learn that? Like, how do you know how to do that?" And I knew how to play, and he was like, "You know how to keep time." He's like, "Really good, keep up." And we would jam together. And then eventually my neighbor friend, Mitch Wiry, was taking classical acoustic guitar lessons. We were like in 4th grade, 5th grade, this stuff. And his parents eventually bought him this K guitar amp, Sears guitar, and a little amp. And we figure out rock songs. And we started playing Creedence Clearwater Revival and songs like that. And at my 14th birthday party, we played to like the kids that were there, and 747 coming out of the sky. Now, I had the red sparkle snare drum. My parents would not buy me a drum set, even though they knew I could play, and they were like that was like a carrot, like that you got to earn it. So I'd always detassel corn and take odd jobs. Oh, that was
detasseling, man, that's crazy.
That's a rite of passage for in the area.
South Central Illinois, man.
I've never been so tired. I remember that first day going home and I just fell asleep in the car. But anyways, I never had a drum set. My dad had got me a cymbal, so I stood up kind of like Lee Rocker, the Stray Cats,
yep.
or Slim Jim Phantom. And I had this one snare that didn't have the snare on, and so it was like a tom. So I would just play and go back and forth, and the bass drum I'd play over here, and the snare drum. So I would sing and play drums while Mitch was playing these songs, and we did like Born to Be Wild, and we're little kids. And so we heard of this kid who could play guitar, like lead guitar, could play like Van Halen, and we're like, oh, okay, so let's meet this kid. And his name's Joe Calandrino.
Oh, yeah.
And he's younger than us. And now me and Mitch already have songs, but we get on the phone with Joe, and he plays over the phone. He's like, "Oh, I can play." He's like, and all of a sudden he's like playing Eruption and stuff over the phone. I'm like, holy crap! And I'm looking at Mitch like, you can't do that. And I'm like, we got to get a band with this guy.
So we decided to get together and practice. And I remember we practiced in Mitch's garage. This is the first memory I think I have of this. Damon didn't have a drum kit. Damon had a snare with the snare off and another snare with the snare on and some kind of like cymbal that didn't sound good at all. But he played the hell out of these. Like, he would go boom, chink, back and forth from the snare that sounded like a tom and then the snare while he did this ride cymbal thing over where a hi-hat ought to be.
We didn't have a bass player, but Mitch would just turn his tone knob to low.
So what age were you around at this point?
14.
Well, 14, yeah.
14, 15.
Mitch didn't have a bass, so he just like played the lower 4 strings of his guitar and turned all the treble down and all the bass up on his amp.
He turned his tone knob real low and turned the highs all off, and Joe would play, and we formed a band called Images.
We opened for the high school band that was actually playing for the dance, and we couldn't set up on the stage. They made us set up on the floor. We played like 4 or 5 songs, like Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Amy Pruitt was singing lead.
And that was my first gig, and I borrowed somebody's drum set. A girl singer. Her name was Amy Pruitt, and she's super good singer. Scorpions, Rock You Like a Hurricane, did Pat Benatar. So Rochester was unique in the sense that the music teacher there, her name was Dorothy Taft, she came up with this concept of a rock concert to benefit the music program. And we got to use the gymnasium both Friday and Saturday in April and put on a rock concert. And
like a School of Rock sort of a thing. But
it was totally a School of Rock.
But before it was really a...
The AV kids would get involved. They would run the lights. They would do... We had smoke machine. We had pyrotechnics. And I was like, Mitch, when we get into high school... Because you couldn't do it until you were in high school. And the band that was playing before, like when we were in grade school, was a band called Chance. And the singer was Mike Greer. Which everybody knows Mike Greer is
from way back
DJ.
Yeah.
Canes.
Canes used to be huge at Canes. Way back, people. Way back. Yeah. This is way back.
This is serious DJ Springfield lore.
I remember talking to them when I got a little older, and they were like doing gigs at Crickets in town.
You mean Mike Greer's band?
Yeah. So they weren't just this once a year band. They were playing shows in town as high schoolers in an assembly during the day. And all it was these guys playing rock songs.
Right.
I'm like, this is great. And got to get out of class to see these guys just rock. And so when my freshman year, Mitch goes and auditions. And I remember him coming up to me. He's like, yeah, I'm playing in Pops. That's called the Pops concert.
And this is the one that happened at the high school.
Yes, you made the band. Now you're in the house band.
I couldn't be in with because I was in 8th grade. So Damon and Mitch played.
The way Pop's concert worked was you had the house band and you had a lead singer and you played, but also you brought in the guest singers and it was kind of like karaoke with a live band. And so...
Where did this happen? This was
Rochester High School.
At Rochester
this was at the high school. Okay, I thought maybe it was. All right, got it.
And so they would submit songs,
but it was like a.
And they had to try out too. They had to, the band would say, "Yeah, you're good," or
and people
not this year.
Right? And people would pay, and it was like an event on the weekend.
Yeah, so they would pay money. It was a Friday and Saturday. They would pay money to come to this concert, and it benefited the music program, where other schools was like selling pizzas or selling candy bars. We're putting on a 2-day rock concert. And so I'm trying to get in, and I go to audition. I'm like, well, technically, I guess they have a drummer, but he was multi-talented. His name's Dave McCafferty, and he is, for 25 years now, he's been the band teacher at Rochester. I went and auditioned, and again, I'm not real, familiar with a full drum set, but they had a full drum set up, and I remember the song I tried out was New Girl Now. I got a new girl now.
Oh yeah.
Who's that by?
I don't know who that's by.
Honeymoon Suite.
Oh my God, that's right.
There's a name to be reckoned with.
And
Honeymoon Suite.
And I knew that was one of their songs and that they were going to do that year, and so I nailed it. And now I'm in this, Pops concert, and it was kind of a tradition where the drummer did a drum solo. Well, we did Rush that year, and so I did a drum solo. My sophomore year, now Calandrino's a freshman. Well, now he's in. He's in because he's already played with us. And that was the first year, you know, and I did a drum solo again, but that was the first year I was like, I kind of want to play bass and kind of want to get out front for like a tune. So we did, you know, and I hadn't played guitar very much. And I said, you know, maybe we can just do Johnny Be Good. Mm-hmm. And so I did Johnny Be Good on bass and sang it while some other kid, you know, played drums.
Getting all Back to the Future about it.
Yeah.
Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, yeah. Go, Johnny, go, go. Yeah, Johnny, be good. Joe, Johnny, go.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh yeah, and so that was my first taste of kind of getting out front, and singing too, because I wasn't really known for singing. I was like just a drummer to that point, and so then her junior year, so now it's like we're kind of forming a band on the side of the Pops concert. Well, we had seniors that were in the Pops band as well, and they're wanting to do Rat, some Motley Crue, you know, they kind of have some songs picked out, Cheap Trick, and Joe, and you know, Matt Vansla, and you know, we're kind of forming a band on the outside of Pops, and we're like, no, we also want to do some of this, you know, we want to do some Smiths, we want to do some Cure, we want to do, you know.
REM.
And they're like, and so this is 1987, and the seniors aren't really having it.
No,
they're like,
no.
And so the name of that band, because it was Livewire, my first 2 years was Livewire. It was a set band. Well, this year we had to kind of change it up. We ended up calling it The Separation. And so that year I decided, well, I think I want to go ahead and play bass. I want to play up front. And this kid moved to our school. He was the pastor's son, and he was a basketball player on the team. But he played drums in the band. And I was talking to him. I said, "You have a drum set?" And he's like, "Yeah, I played drums." And so his name's Ben Davis, and Ben Davis went on to become the Sulivans drummer.
What's up, Old School Bleepers? My name is Ben Davis. So I moved to Rochester from Maine, and Damon came up to me one day in high school band class and was like, "Hey man, do you play drum set?" And I was like, "A little bit." He's like, "Do you like metal?" And I was like, "Not really." And he's like, "Cool. You want to play in Pops this year?" And I was like, what is that?" I had no idea what I was getting myself into. We towed the line that year of the mid-'80s of the older guys wanting to play like REO Speedwagon and Van Halen, and then the other guys wanting to play like REM and the Smiths, and Damon wanting to play anything that was good, which was really fun. The dude just loved music and always has. It's been amazing knowing that guy.
I was cool with all of it. I'm like, you know, I'll play some Rat. I like Rat, you know. And
So the Separation became the Sullivan?
the Sullivans were forming, and we formed a band at that time, and we played a song together on stage as the Sullivans. You know, basically that's the first year the Sullivans played on stage.
Practiced all year, come to the night of Pops, and there's 500 people in the gym screaming. asking for autographs. We did light tech. There's kids in the rafters putting spotlights on us, and dry ice and smoke machines. And it was amazing to have in a middle school gym in the middle of the 80s doing Smith's covers, Sex Pistols covers, and still managing to do a couple of Bon Jovi songs or something.
Our senior year, Pops went from being kind of, top 40 rock to we started doing Sex Pistols.
I am running in a sex life. I am running as I Christ. I know what I want, but I know how to get it. I want to destroy, but sounds like a sign. I wanna be that I'm
And, it got a little crazy because all of a sudden it wasn't family friendly anymore.
I don't like what you do, what you think, what you say. I don't like what you do, what you think, what you say.
We kept it going through all the years I was there.
Actually playing. There was no real amps, real pedals, there was no lip syncing. We actually played. Even if it was wrong, we still played it. Big deal. Like, kids from other schools would come to Rochester and pay the $2 for the ticket to come watch the Fox concert.
And it was just so unique. I actually don't know why schools don't do it today. So you would think that would be something that people would do. Because it is like the school of rock kind of.
Yeah. But if you have music teachers retire, and then nobody takes it over or something, and all of a sudden,
we started doing gigs at bars and stuff like that.
So then we started doing gigs outside of the Pops concert.
So what kind of shows did you play? Because you were pretty young, right? I mean, you were still in high school.
Yeah. The Sulivans played outside of school. We played at Union Station. Mm-hmm. We played at, on Broadway. I have a flyer that had Annihilate and the Sulivans playing together.
Right. That show we talked about before with Cat Undercover.
That show opened up a door for us. So we played a couple years. Joe got tired of it. It was like, I ain't doing this rock anymore. He was getting into jazz, and so he kind of was like over it. So we got Hugh Garvey to play with us.
Right, and I used to work with Hugh at Apple Tree at the time. When I was writing for the Illinois Times, I also was working behind the counter at Apple Tree Records with Tom Irwin and Hugh and other people would go in. But that's when I met Hugh, I think it was when Hugh was playing with Hugh.
But now I think that it's become more established with just the casual alternative fan, the person who maybe owns maybe 5 cassettes as a collection of, maybe replacements, REM, the safer stuff. And I think those people want to see some bands doing the music that they like, the alternative to what's on the radio, and they find that bands like the Sulivans and the Beyond and Backwards Day can offer an alternative to what's on the radio, that's basically what I think alternative is. We're a pretty safe alternative band, though, because we do we don't do any fringe alternative music, like we wouldn't do Eugene Chadbourne or we wouldn't do any, we only do the safe alternative groups like REM and the Replacements, which get college radio airplay, and that's starting to become almost an established commercial thing in itself.
And the reason that I wanted to do my own songs was I've really never thought of music as sort of a job for me to make money. I've more seen it as a form of expression. And if I'm going to write songs and there's a form for me to do them, there's no point in doing somebody else's songs because they're someone else's ideas, and I don't really, you can identify with a song, but you can't really connect with it as your own. So I think it's best to do your own songs anyway. And if you're not really interested in the money, it's kind of stupid to do somebody else's songs. And a lot of people do that, and I don't know why.
We kind of felt like that was to our benefit because that gave us a bigger audience to play to, rather than being isolated and people kind of like you were saying, people like, nah, get out of here. If that started happening, then we go, well, how about this? What do you want to hear?
Right. Harley riders come and they have their leather and their, their colors on their back, and so we see them come in and we have a song list, and we think, this is our crowd, let's please them. So we didn't think, let's do Ramones, let's do REM. We said, let's do some Cream, Doors, the Yardbirds, Beatles, something that these people are going to get into. I remember we did a Doors tune, and we got response from that. That was cool. We got that. So we decided to wait till after they had a couple drinks in their bodies before we started playing that kind of stuff. I think even alternative groups, base their music on some of the old stuff. So. Definitely. And even when we do it in our own style. Oh yeah, we never. That's part of the thing. We have to be careful in how we do Beatles and Stones, because if we do it the extremely traditional way, we'll turn off all the alternative people. But if we do it completely, maybe with a hardcore feel or with a drony Joy Division vocal, a Joy Division version of Ticket to Ride, we turn off both people. So we have to be safe and kind of choose a middle ground and just our own interpretation of the old cover stuff that people recognize but realize is fresh because of the way we're doing it. We already do one original, and I wrote that. Actually, two. We did two originals. The band wrote one, I wrote one, and that's really fun. I don't know. Maybe I'd like to do more originals. Well, definitely I'd like to do more originals.
That came about because I was playing with, I did a show with Hugh and Dan Dietrich in a band they had called Doorknob Limbo. We played with Hugh for a little while. Mm-hmm. I don't think he really enjoyed it.
Well, we have that quote from the...
I think he wanted us to...
He wanted to do more
originals. Right. We knew we were all going to school. Like, everybody was leaving in a year.
Hard to take it that seriously.
And went out to Virginia to go to college. Started getting into college radio. First year there, I went up to CMJ in New York, and I was so psyched because Nihilate was playing in New York City, CMJ, and I came out and I was psyched. I was like, Nihilate's breaking big. They're about to, become household name. And I show up and there's probably, 50 to 100 people at the show, and I was pissed because I was like, these guys are amazing. Everyone should know them.
Eventually, Hugh got tired of it, and we kind of formed a different version. Matt Vanslow's still singing. I went to guitar because I was like, I'm starting to get better at guitar now. I feel like I can play these songs. And we got Boys on Chemical drummer Billy Cellini to play drums with us. And we needed a bass player, and I called my old friend Mitch, who I started back in grade school, and he ended up playing bass with us. And we did a couple of shows with that lineup.
Starting a couple of punkish bands called Sleepy Time Trio, Mile Marker. Toured the U.S. a bunch. We ended up touring Europe. Cut to a few years later, I was playing CMJ with a band of mine, and there was less people than that, 25 people there, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this, thinking it was going to be a big deal. And then when Annihilate didn't make it big, I was forewarned that not all good music would make it big.
Cellini, and so that band Boys on Chemicals, I don't know if they played any originals.
Those are Keith Rainey, right?
That was the first band, one of the first bands that I used to go see when I was a kid.
They had a huge following.
They were huge.
They had an insane following because they were all probably like at Springfield High at the time, and I just remember.
And Griffin, I think.
Yep, that's right. SHG, and
they were doing alternative covers and stuff like that.
They were doing Kinks. They were doing like
they
a lot of
Velvet
60s.
Underground, doing like
more
Sweet,
so.
I remember them doing Sweet Jane. And
and not like
more so than
radio hits. They were doing B-sides and stuff.
Yeah, and they had a lot because they were pretty popular, and they were a very good band too. So it was kind of cool that they were a cover band. But I don't know if they had any originals, but they were also kind of doing like some things that were a little bit different, but still kind of I
saw them at the Beach House. They used to rent out the Beach House and have shows out there.
Yeah.
And it was packed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a concert. It was crazy. And I'm like, that's what I want.
Right.
I want to play to like that.
That's exactly how because Lance, our drummer, then after like Walnuts and Steve McDaniel and Don Levy, when Lance started drumming for us, he kind of knew Ralph Sordell was one of his good friends from House of Music, Ralph Sordell Jr., not the owner, but his son. So then because of that, he's like, man, we could play out at this Beach House, because he saw that Boys on Chemicals did in the same thing, where it was just these crazy
You guys
shows
played out there too?
We used to play out there a lot. Well, Ingot and different bands from back then, Vagabondius, P. Hector, they started to they'd play shows with us, but then they were like, hey, we can rent this on our own, because it was a couple $100 to rent. But then the last show, I think it was maybe Ingot, Annihilate, Vagabondius, P. Hector might have been on it, and this dude hung from the chandeliers, and that was it. They were like, and they were like, we're not renting to any musicians anymore. That's it. So that ended the Beach House run, which was a great venue for kids to put shows on back then, because you did have to rent it, but it wasn't really that expensive, and usually you'd almost have a built-in crowd almost.
Well, but Ben went out. He went on to Bats and Mice. That's it. Bats and Mice.
So got a new album coming out next year with Bats and Mice. Thanks to the guys in the Sulivans for getting my musical career started in Rochester, Illinois, and ended up taking me to like 15 countries and 30 or 40 records of different kinds.
They went over to Europe, and they were touring over there. And speaking of Rochester and the music, so there was a girl that was several years younger than me that saw us in the Pops concert, and she ended up being Elizabeth Elmore of Sarge.
Okay.
And she was touring also with Ben's band.
And it was almost time.
She's from Rochester.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, she's
And
from
I
Rochester,
don't think the Pops concert was around by the time she got in high school, but I know that she had come to see some of those.
Well, when I was living in Chicago during that whole period, Sarge was going
The
on.
big, yeah.
Yeah.
Because then she also was in the Reputation, or the band The Reputation. But yeah, when she first wanted to learn guitar, so and they were like at the house, and she asked about learning how to play guitar. So Eric kind of showed her some basic things on guitar, and I showed her like a little bit like early on. But I remember one time, actually, we were in Canada. We were in either New London or in Kirchner. We were playing a show, and like through the crowd, which I mean, it wasn't like packed or anything, but there was people like all over the place, and all of a sudden, like coming through the crowd is somebody just kind of going like this, like just going right through people, like stunned sort of. And we were playing the song Sorrow, I remember, and we either got through or I stopped the song because it was Elizabeth Elmore, and she's standing there, she's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I go, "We're playing a show. What are you doing here?" You know, I mean, it was the craziest
Where was
thing.
this at?
Somewhere in Canada.
Oh.
It just
Our first guest officially on the show is Tom Irwin, who's here with us today.
Yeah.
Tom. Yes, yay! So now we've expanded beyond the original 3. So that's a big moment.
And they're
That
like,
was the specialty.
zombie, get another
More
zombie.
hammer.
Zombies like 5 different rums.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
Suffering Bastard. That was my favorite drink there. That was like
strong drinks.
Now, for people who don't know, when we say Aloha,
Yes.
this was a crazy little, it was almost like a little Tangle-Towny sort of a, it was where basically where Stevenson and 5th Street.
McDonald's is there now.
Where the McDonald's is now. It was like a little almost island, wasn't it? Like an island sort of intersection. And in that was the Aloha, which was like a Hawaiian tiki bar theme.
Tiki bar. They had an organist, right?
Two piano,
Yeah.
two sisters.
The 2 ladies that had the beehive hair.
Yes.
And they would
Miles.
do Roll Out the Barrel and
Grand Old Flag.
Yeah.
Like,
and
play
then
it
Miles, who played, and he had a drum machine, and he'd play, and he basically could play anything. He'd
Yeah.
just take a request, and he'd learn if he'd figure it out.